wasn't just any marathon. This marathon was notoriously badly planned, and the result were, to put it lightly, chaotic. I hope you enjoy learning about this story and interesting piece of history with me. If you have something that you think we should learn about together, feel free to leave it in the comments below or just say hi. If you'd like, you can also subscribe to my Patreon to watch all of my videos without the YouTube advertisements. Okay, this is the 1904 Summer Olympics. Let's see. The men's marathon at the 1904 Summer Olympics in St. Louis, United States, took place on August the 30th of that year, over a distance of 24 miles, 1,500 yards, which is 40 kilometers. The race was run during the hottest part of the day, a strange decision, on dusty country roads with minimal water supplies. While 32 athletes coming from 7 nations, the United States, France, Cuba, Greece, the Orange River Colony, Great Britain, and Canada, competed, only 14 managed to complete the race, which was a bizarre affair due to poor organization and officiating. While Frederick Laws was greeted as the apparent winner, he was later disqualified as he had hitched a ride in a car for part of the race. That's crazy. Okay, that's one way to cheat in a race. The actual winner, Thomas Hicks, was near collapse and hallucinating by the end of the race, a side effect of being administered brandy, raw eggs, and strychnine by his trainers. The 4th place finisher, Andrin Carvajal, took a nap during the race after eating spoiled apples. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's look into the background of the race. This was the 3rd appearance of That's interesting. I wonder what caused that discrepancy. Now we move to this section entitled Competition Format, and I'd like to share with you the marathon route. Let's see. It's very difficult to make out the actual names, but this is what the route shape look like. I think I'm tilting the phone to you properly. Okay, so a boot shape, I guess. The marathon distance has not yet been standardized. In St. Louis, the course was 24 miles and 1,500 yards, 40 kilometers, as we said. The organizers started the marathon at 3 p.m., whereas most modern marathons start in the early morning to take advantage of cooler times of day. That is a fairly strange time to start a lengthy marathon, considering what time the marathon might end as well, and that you're starting the race when the sun is beating down on you sounds rather unpleasant, and I wonder why they decided to start then. The start included 5 laps, or 1 2/3 of a mile, which is 2.68 kilometers around the stadium track. The remainder of the course was on dusty country roads, with race officials riding in vehicles ahead of and behind the runners. This created dust clouds that exacerbated the severely hot and humid conditions. With a temperature of around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 32 degrees Celsius at the starting time. Sounds a bit unpleasant. The route had to be altered at the last minute after roads in the Crèvecoeur area were washed out by rain. Also, the course was not cleared of obstacles for the marathon. The runners had to dodge cross-town traffic, delivery wagons, railroad trains, trolley cars, and even people walking their dogs. Having to dodge cars sounds pretty dangerous. And here we have a bit of a photograph of the runners just before the race. Hopefully it can focus. Let's look at the summary of the race. During the race, John Lorden, who had won the 1903 Boston Marathon, was violently ill after 10 miles, which is 16 kilometers, and retired. While Sam Mellor, who had won the 1902 Boston Marathon, was also overcome by dust, despite leading the field at the halfway mark. Mellor became disoriented and ultimately dropped out of the race. shuffled his feet as if still running. Hicks had to be carried off the track on a stretcher and might have died in the stadium had he not been treated by 4 doctors. He lost 8 pounds, 3.6 kilograms during the course of the marathon. Wow, that is a lot of weight. Now, Cuban postman Andorin Carvajal had also joined the marathon, arriving at the last minute. After losing all of his money gambling in New Orleans, Louisiana, he hitchhiked to St. Louis and had to run the event in street clothes that he had cut around the legs to make them into shorts. Not having eaten in 40 hours, he saw a spectator eating 2 peaches. He asked if he could have the peaches, and the spectator declined. He then stole both peaches and ran away. Later, he stopped off in an orchard en route to eat some apples, which turned out to be rotten. The rotten apples caused him to have strong stomach cramps, and he had to lie down and take a nap. Despite his discomfort and the pause, Carvajal still managed to finish in 4th place. What kind of run is this? Arriving without correct documents, Albert Corey, a French immigrant to the United States, is inconsistently listed as participating in a mixed team in the 4-mile team race with 4 undisputed Americans and competing for the United States in the marathon. The South African entrants Len Toynane and Jan Mashiani finished 9th and 12th respectively. This was a disappointment, as many observers were sure Toynane could have done better if he had not been chased nearly a mile off course by wild dogs. There are so many really, really random elements to this race. Now to dehydration and the race. The only 2 sources of water for the competitors were a water tower at 6 miles, 9.7 kilometers, and a well about the halfway mark. James Edward Sullivan was a chief organizer of the Olympics and set up no other water sources along the 24 miles and 1,500 yards course of the marathon, even though it was conducted at 32 degrees Celsius or 90 Fahrenheit. And it was this heat over unpaved roads that were choked up with dust. His ostensible reason was to conduct research on purposeful dehydration. This, combined with poor officiating, saw the marathon end with the worst ratio of finishers to starters, 14 out of 32, and the slowest winning time, 3 hours 28 minutes 53. bunch of apples, and the person who got chased half a mile off course because of wild dogs, and someone cheating by using a car. That's crazy. And also the fact that there was like almost no water. Purposeful dehydration doesn't sound that appropriate to be testing in the Olympics. But anyway, I hope you found this little piece of history interesting. If you have something you'd like me to read about, please leave it in the comments below. I know I'd be fascinated to hear whatever